I really never trusted the Washington Post about as far as I can throw them, be it the issue, be it because of the issue of them smearing the Covington kids as a bunch of white supremacists, or trying to smear Ben Shapiro as a white supremacist just because he goes talking about Notre Dame being a symbol of Western cultural values, and some other lies and mistruths that I'm sure that I have read before but cannot quite remember offhand. But now the most egregious and ridiculous of them, trying to smear slash gaslight freedom, cries for freedom as white supremacy. Hello, everybody. I am Zach of the Dark Conservatarian YouTube channel, and over the weekend I read the one article of Washington Post that has been going kind of viral, of where that they call cries for for freedom in relation to the Canadian Freedom Convoy specifically, as white supremacy. And really, if this is really a sneak peek of what is truly to come with the future of political dialogue, that any sort of cries for freedom is white supremacy or whatever, then I don't want to live on this earth no more, because this is getting absolutely ridiculous. Although maybe somebody could make the argument that we were seeing glimpses of this back to when that they were saying that, or back to when that people on the left have been saying that there is a libertarian to alt-right pipeline, or trying to say that libertarians are dog whistling for the oppression of black people, when they go saying that businesses have a right to deny service and discriminate on who they want to service to or not. Maybe those are glimpses of it, but nobody on the left has been as explicit as the Washington Post has just made themselves right now. Now, as you all might have seen, there was that screen cap that has been shared around, of where that Washington Post goes saying that cries for freedom in relation to the Canadian Freedom Convoy is really white supremacist. That's not exactly verbatim of what they say, but that's roughly along the lines of what they said. But I gone reading the entirety of that article, and the first half of that article, before that one segmented piece, it's quite frankly a non sequitur. They go mentioning about the history of Native Americans, or excuse me, the history of Canada, if I can collect my words, in their treatment of Native Americans, indigenous peoples, whatever we want to call them. And really, as far as I can tell, people who are like sharing around the screen cap alone, they're not taking anything really out of context, because you really could make that article without featuring the first half of that article, of where the lady goes talking about the history of Canada and their treatment of Native Americans, and because it's quite frankly a non sequitur. Even if I was to give the benefit of the doubt that most to all of it is true, which I don't, by the way, I kind of question the narrative that the WashPo article writer is trying to sell here, especially knowing of how that the mass grave dig sites, at least according to PSA sites, you guys remember that subject, the mass grave site subject that was debated between Lawrence Southern and Lance of the Serfs, and of course featuring counterpoints and tale of twin rabbits, two rabbits, whatever the heck his name was. That subject, this lady, the article writer, goes citing that as an example of Canadian oppression against Native Americans. And according to PSA Sitch, like post hoc of that debate, apparently it's turned out not really to be true that there are mass grave sites. Those, the ground radar penetration technology, whatever, is not exactly accurate. What is actually found to be in those mass grave sites was not the remainings of any like bodies or anything like that. It's tree stumps and just in general, not remains of humans, just in general. So, quite frankly, I question in the first place the narrative of history that this writer is trying to sell off. But even if I was to give almost 100% the benefit of the doubt, what she says is true, it's a non sequitur. Or At least she did not connect the statement of the history of Canadian history with Native Americans to her statement of calls for freedom or white supremacy. She did not make the connection very well to make it clear. So it's just like, what the fuck are you going on about? Why is this relevant? I mean, do we really need to know this in order to know what your argument is? If I was to take a deeper look, I could articulate a better understanding, possibly, of what the writer was trying to say. But even whatever she's trying to say, it's completely retarded. Like, does anybody remember back in the old days, the 90s and early 2000s, of when that left liberals would be all like, yeah, sure, freedom, it's a good thing, but what about freedom for minorities? In the face of systemic oppression, systemic racism, or whatever. Anybody remember those days? I mean, the debate right then, there was a universal objective understanding and agreement that freedom was good, that freedom is good for all peoples, really. But, and the subject would be more about whether or not that minorities actually do have their freedoms or not, and whether or not systemic racism really is a thing or not, especially in regards of law and government. Like police debates aside, though, or whatever those subjects may be aside, now the subject seems to be that the left is just wanting to say that freedom, that cries for freedom, is bad. Maybe they're more specifically trying to say that when white people do it, it's bad. If I was to try and scrounge something else, like, they're trying to say one of two things. Either A, whenever white people make cries for freedom, it's white supremacy. Or B, they're just trying to say in general that cries for freedom is just, in general, white supremacy. Like, why are you trying to gaslight freedom in this stupid, nonsensical way? The debate should not be whether or not that... I mean, there isn't even really a debate here. I mean, I use the word debate rather loosely here, but the debate should not be whether or not that freedom is white supremacy. The debate should be whether or not all peoples have freedom, and whether or not freedom should be given in this area or that area, or yada yada yada. Like, obviously, I think that the Freedom Convoy is in the right, and I'll make another video here in a bit giving my full thoughts about it. But so I support them in that area, and obviously I don't like a call for Jim Crow laws or whatever, any kind of legal systemic oppression against minority groups. I mean, I just am rather straight about it. Freedom for all. I don't go saying that freedom... Does anybody really make the claim that freedom is some kind of racial supremacy? Probably not. I mean, it's probably a fringe minority of people that go unironically saying this bullshit, but it just makes me kind of concerned about the future of political dialogue. Especially when you have a mainstream news outlet like a Washington Post touting off this bullshit. We'll have to wait and see. But mainstream left is just becoming more and more mask off right now. And that's all I have to say about this WashPo article, their incoherent stupidity, and yada yada. I mean, I realize that I kind of rambled a little bit, but nonetheless, tell me what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I mean, is Washington Post, and I'll have the article in the description box below for you all to read it yourself. But what are your thoughts on it? So, I'm Zach of the Dark Conservatarian YouTube channel, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.